Good morning, student. Can you all hear me? Can you see my screen? Good morning, everyone. Okay, so as posted in the meeting chat, supposedly we have IAP talk today at 9:30, but the speaker is not so well, so that's why the IAP talk has been postponed to 30th of August, Monday. Okay, same date, 9:30 to 11. So as usual, during that day, I will begin the lecture first. Then after that, we will continue the IAP talk on next 2 weeks. I think it's week 13. Okay, so today we are going to another new chapter. In fact, this is the second last chapter. Next week, I'm going to deliver a last chapter, sustainability. So today we are going to learn valuation method. So upon completion of this chapter, you'll be able to choose, apply appropriate valuation methods according to the circumstances. So which means that later on, we are going to learn a few methods of valuation method. So based on the question given, based on the scenario, you should be able to know which method shall you use to solve the valuation problem by using the different valuation methods. So for this chapter, we are going to learn 5 methods: comparison method, cost method, profit method. Here is not so, is not, actually the concept is the same, but the pattern is not the same that what we have learned in the development appraisal. But the concept is the same, which means that you use all the revenue minus the expenses to give the to find out the profit. Okay, investment method, and last but not least, I think we learned this one before, residue method. So to begin, we will start about comparison method first. So as the word say, comparison. So comparison to be made between two things. The first one is the property to be valued, which we call the subject property, and other similar property available that have been the object of recent transaction or are currently on the market. This is what we call comparable property. So if you don't understand, just think about the assignment that I give you. That piece of land, I ask you to propose what kind of development you want to develop. So that is be classified under the subject property. Your assignment, that is the subject property. So when you want to find out the selling price, when you want to find out the construction cost, you have to find another property available in the market to do the comparison. So your comparison, the one is your comparable property. You use that to compare, to do some calculations so that you know the selling price and also the construction cost that you are going to assume for your subject property. So subject property is your project. Comparable property is a property that you want, you serve as a comparison. Okay. So normally for comparison method, suitable for like comparison, which means that compare apple to apple. Say for example, before I talk about property in property industry context, say for example, if you want to sell your car, okay, now you got one car. Say for example, Honda Civic, you want to sell that car. So now you are thinking, this car actually quite some time already, you want to sell. Then you do not know what price should you sell. So what should you do? You will look around. Okay, is what we say, look around the market evidence. Okay, look around the market evidence to check what price shall you sell. So where do you get the market evidence? So you can search internet, you can see the advertisement in newspaper, Facebook to see what price they offer. exactly the same model lah. So you can check the same model, what price they are selling in the market. So you maybe from the price, you can compare the size, maybe model not same. So that's why the size is not same, or maybe the condition also not same. So you will compare the size, you will compare the condition, the age, the feature or the accessory that you have, plus and minus, then you do some adjustment to arrive a reasonable price. So that's why before you want to sell a car, you try to look for the reason, the latest market evidence in the market to check what price shall you sell. So similarly to property, when you want to determine the selling price, your property is compared with the others on the market. Similar lah. If you want to propose residential, of course, you want to find another residential property to do the comparison ma. So this is what we call like for like. When you propose residential, then you compare with the exactly the same. If we can, we try to compare the exactly the same property to compare to check what is the price they are selling. So based on that, you need to make some adjustment, maybe plus and minus, to arrive a figure that can be considered the current market value. Okay, so that is like for like, compare apple with apple. Similar property type to the subject, just like I mentioned just now. If you are proposing industrial, so you compare with industrial, but you cannot like you propose industrial, you compare to residential. There are difference, correct or not? So that's why comparison property should be similar type, similar location. Bear in mind that property in East Malaysia, West Malaysia, even KL property versus Semenyih property, they are, although they look like the same, okay, but you will surprise the price is different. Condominium in KL versus condominium in Kajang, the price definitely will be different. So that's why when you want to do comparison, preferable you choose the same location to do the comparison. That will be better. However, I think you all learned before, if you find out they are not same in the location, actually you can do adjustment. You can use the index, cost index to do the adjustment. So preferable, if we can, we try to choose the same location. Then you no need to make any adjustment. But in case you cannot find the exact location, then you need to do certain adjustment based on the index. That could be done also. Okay. Evidence obtained is reason and reflect the current market condition. So that's why for this one, just as I mentioned, you have to find the current market evidence. You cannot compare the 10 years, the price are 10 years ago. Then you use it for as your selling price or your construction cost. That is not right. So you should always find the latest recent market evidence to check what is the selling price that you are going to determine. Okay. For comparison, it is appropriate to use where the property, as I say, share the similar characteristic. If can, similar type, similar location, similar year of completion, that will be better. And where there have been recent market transaction to provide the comparable data. So which means that, as I just now mentioned, try to find the latest date to check the price. However, sometimes things are not perfect. So even in this apparently straightforward setting, a valuer still has to adjust to comparable market evidence to suit the peculiarity of the subject property. So if you remember, I mentioned that property is heterogeneous. Heterogeneous, which means that there are no same two property. No two property are truly the same. Although they are similar in terms of design, in terms of size, but they can be different in terms of visibility, accessibility, arrangement, Even the coordinate can be different. Even the number plate can make them different. So that is what we have learned in microeconomics. Property is heterogeneous. There are no two same property. So that is means by a valuer will need to do some adjustment to suit the condition, location, characteristic of the subject property. So which means that sometimes you need to make some adjustment. Adjustment will need to be made to reflect the differences because there are no two same property. They can be different in terms of size, location, time, completion time, and so on. So that's why sometimes it's not just so straightforward that you apply and then you just directly apply from the comparable property. Sometimes you need to do some adjustment. Okay. So say for example, value the market rent of an industrial unit with the area 3,250. So this is your subject property. Okay, this is your subject property. A nearby and a very similar comparable building. So this is your comparable property. The size is 4,100, has recently been let on the open market for 287,000 per annum. Okay, so you know that your comparable property, the size is this one, and the rental is this one. So now your own property, the size is this one. Find out the rental. So this one quite simple. For your comparable property, you just use the rental divide by the size. Okay, then you get 70 per meter square. Then you straight away can times it with your own subject property. Then with that, you can get the roughly the rental. So this is in the case that they are similar. Then you can use this straightforward method. Okay, but for this method, there are some limitation. First, bigger size property, okay, bigger size property will produce lower value per unit of area than substantial smaller property. What does it mean? Okay, go back to the calculation now. Your comparable property is this size, correct or not? 4,100, then you get 70. What if your comparable property similar rental, but the size is smaller? Okay, say for example, make it simple. The size is this one. Okay, so when you divide, you should get 100 per meter square, isn't it? So when you times back 100 with your own property, then can you see the difference? Okay, that is means by if your comparable property is big, you produce more value per meter square. If your property is small, the size is small, but at the end you can see the value here become very big. So that is a limitation. If you use bigger size, you produce smaller value. If you use smaller size, you produce a bigger value. Okay, so that is meant by bigger size will produce a lower value than the substantial smaller property. So that's why the best way is to make quantum's allowance. What does it mean by quantum's allowance? Quantum's allowance, which means that an allowance plus minus addition, deduction from the rental itself or from the capital value to reflect the differences. That is meant by quantum's allowance, plus minus to the rental or capital value of the property to reflect the differences. Why we need to do that? Because to include other significant qualitative differences between the subject property and the comparable. Qualitative difference, which means that they can be different in terms of size, although they are the same type industrial property, but they can be different in terms of size, shape, location, design, condition, year of completion. So that's why most of the time you need to do some quantum allowance to reflect the differences. This is what we call qualitative differences among the property. Okay. So the next method under the comparison method is what we call zoning and halving back. Half. Okay, zoning and halving back. So when you read the question, a shop has recently been let on the open market for 80,000. So this is a rental. It is rectangular in shape and has a clear internal floor area. Frontage 5 meter, depth 23, and is a single story structure. Analyze this market evidence and use it to find the market rent value of the adjacent shop, so the shop beside, which is similar in all aspects except the size itself. So for the second, this one, the frontage is 8 meter and the depth is 18 meter. So when you produce the question in a figure, so this is the comparable property. This is a subject property. So the comparable property, the frontage is here. This one is the frontage, 5 meter, and this is a depth, 23 meter. And then the rental given is 80,000 per annum. So your own property size here, the frontage is 8 meter. So here wider, but the depth is shorter, 18 meter. So for this method, zoning and halving back, which means that you divide your property into a few zones. Okay, you divide your property into a few zones, and the value you need to halve it. So which means that, go back to this figure, you divide your property into few zones by every 6 meter. Take note, it should be 6 meter. It cannot be 7, it cannot be 6.5, cannot be 8 meter. By right, the principle is 20 feet. When you when you convert the 20 feet to meter, it should be 6.09 meter. So for the standardizations, make it standardized, they use 6 meter. So remember, don't use 7, don't use 8. Remember, only use 6 meter. So which means that you divide your property into a few zones by every 6 meter. So here, 23, you can see the depth here is 23. So first, A, 6 meter. B, another 6 meter. C, another 6 meter. Okay, then the balance, right? The balance, you should use 23 minus 6, 6, 6. So should be 5 lah. Okay, 23, correct or not? Okay, so here, I repeat again, 23 divided by 6. So 6, 6, 6. The remaining, you use the 23 minus 6, 6, 6. Then the balance, you leave it at the back. So this is zone A, zone B, zone C, zone D. Okay, similarly to this one. Okay, A, B, C. So 6, 6. Then here, because it's 18 so that's why here ngam lo. 6, 6, 6 is 18 meter lo. But this one, if not ngam, then you just leave it at the back. Okay, so first you just divide the property into a few zones by 6 meter. Then halving back, which means that assuming zone A, the rental is X. B, half of the X, half of A. B, the rental is half of A, so that's why it's 0.5x. C, the rental is half of B, that's why 0.25x. Then the rental at D is half of C, That's why 0.125x. Okay, I repeat again. A, assuming the rental is X value, RMX. Halving back, which means that the zone B, the rental should be half of A. That's why 0.5x. C, the rental should half of B. That's why 0.25x. And last but not least, D should be half of C. That's why 0.125x. So this one same x 0.5x, but because only got C so until here only lo. Okay, now let you think. Why A we have to assume X? Why not D assume X there? Here is the street. In front here is the street. So anyone, can you guess why A should be expensive? Why the more we back of the shop, it become cheaper? Why A is the most expensive compared to B, C, D? Okay, visibility, accessibility, yes, correct. You just imagine this one is a shop. Say for example like Uniqlo, H&M. This one is the shop layout. Say for example H&M, Uniqlo. This is their shop layout, very long and thin, like a rectangular. So A always is the most expensive. Sometimes we call it shop front. Shop front. I think I have one picture. Yes, this one. Can you see or not? Shop front. So this is the space very crucial for all the retailer. They have to place something interesting as their window display to attract the customer. Because the first thing people go into the shopping mall, they will see the shop front first. If the shop front got something interesting to display in the window, say for example, wow, sales up to 70% off. That is the thing that start to attract the customer to go inside the shop. Because customers are very lazy. They won't go into the shop to the back if they didn't see anything interesting in the shop front. So they less likely will walk to the back. So that's why that is a tactic of the retailer. You will notice that most of the time they will place a lot of more nicer clothes or display at the front rather than at the back. So that is a reason why A is the most expensive compared to B, C, D. Because sometimes if the shop is too long, maybe people just will stop at A, B rather than go to C, D. So that's why A, B is very important. They need to place a lot of nice displays in A, B so that they can attract the people to go in and continue to venture to the back. So that is the reason why A we assume is X, B assume half of the X, and similarly for the rest. Okay, so remember, divide the zone by every 6 meter, and the zone A near to the frontage should be X, then 0.5X and subsequently. Okay, all right, so wait. Okay, so this one, okay, I write again. X 0.5x 0.25x, then 0.125x. Okay, so now we know that the rental here is 80,000. Okay, first you can see here, zone A, you just use the tab, you just use the frontage times the tab times the x. So that's why 5, 6, x. Can you see? 5, 6, x. Simple. Then zone B, similarly, 5, 6, 0.5x. So 5, 6, 0.5x. So similarly here, 5, 6, 0.25x. 5, 5. The rest at zone D is 5, 5 already. Because here is 5, so you don't always 5, 6, 5, 6. So 5, 5 times 0.125x. So this I already mentioned. So your next task is sum up everything. So when you sum up everything, equivalent to 55.625x. Okay, 55.625x equivalent to, I think here equivalent to 80,000. Okay, so now simple mathematics. To get x, you need to use 80,000 divided by 55.625. Then x value is what? Approximate 1440 per annum in term of zone A lah. Okay, so once you know the x is approximate 1440, then you substitute back to this one. Okay, so similarly, next slide. Okay, so similarly, 8, 6 times x. So here, I think here quite straightforward lah. All are same lah. Okay, so but then the zone should be different. X 0.5x, 0.25x. So sum up everything. Okay, then you can actually substitute the x 1440 So that's why you substitute inside Then after that, you should get the rental approximate 121,000 per annum. Okay, so for this method, assuming don't need to do any deduction. No deduction for those toilet lah, lift lah, staircase lah, or other things or storeroom lah, for example. Okay, so assuming no any deduction, just measure on net. Okay, so that is the zoning and halving back. Okay. All right. Now a little bit of the theory. Okay, for comparison method, there are some factor, there are some reason that will determine the value that you actually measure just now. The first one we classify as a physical factor. So the first factor under the physical factor is location. Right property in the right location will command a high value. So as I mentioned at the beginning, East Malaysia versus West Malaysia property, they are different. Although same type, same size, same arrangement, okay, same shape, but because of the location factor, their selling price can be very, very big different. So that is the first reason why your value is different, because of location factor. So that's why when you do a cost plan, your project at KL, but then you get the sample is from Sarawak, it's okay. Actually, you still can use, but you just need to do some cost adjustment based on the location itself. So this one, no big deal. Remember just now I mentioned, for comparison, most likely you need to do some adjustment to reflect the differences. Okay. Second, topography. Topography, which means that the physical form of the land, sorry, the physical form of the land surface. So which means that a very stiffly and sloping site actually is very difficult to construct, because very steeply and sloping side, you need to level it, you need to cut and fill. Or maybe the structure not so strong, actually you need some retaining wall, special maintenance to strengthen the land. So that's why if the topography fall under this category, the cost will be higher, because you need additional cost to cut and fill, to level it, to install the retaining wall and so on for the special maintenance. So that's why all these will affect the value of the property as well. Okay. And after that is accessibility. I think this one everybody, all of you, I think quite expert lah. If the property near to public transport, near to public transport, highway, then the value should be higher. But if the location only have one point of access, then that one is very troublesome. It's very disaster because you only have one point of access. That is actually happened at Mahkota Ceras. As you can see, Mahkota Ceras only have one access to KL. That's why that area is very congested. Every morning, a lot of car queuing to go up. So can you see that accessibility factor will affect the value? So for those property near to public transport or highway, that actually will bring out the value. Okay? Geology, which means that the physical makeup of the ground structure itself. If the ground consists of fault line, clay or sand, so all these will actually affect the development because they are not stable, the ground condition is not stable. You might require to build more expensive foundation in order to strengthen the ground to overcome the poor ground condition. All these need money. That's why expensive will affect the value itself. And if the land is contaminated, then you need to rectify. So all these actually quite expensive and you need additional cost to do the rectification. So all this actually will create technical difficulty to the development. So that's why it will add up the cost and affect the value. All right. And second category is the property specific factor, is the property factor itself. First is the construction, which means that the presence of different types of material in a building will tend to have an impact upon its value. So if the building built from durable material, then that should be better because it lasts longer. The structural will be more stable. However, if the building quite some time already, and normally for quite some time old building, sometimes they built by using harmful material. So those harmful material will be quite dangerous and will affect the human health. So all these will affect the property value itself. Okay, so that is a construction. I think typically is construction material that you use lah. Age. So of course, old building tend to be lower value because building age and the state of the repair, they are related. If the age is very high, which means that the building quite some time already, then we will expect you need to do more repair and maintenance as compared to new building. So the age of the building will also affect the property value. Okay. Next is the condition of the building. There is a need to consider the appearance, the condition of the property in terms of physical condition, the repair, suitability and safety of the service connection. Some building, if they last quite some time ago, normally the condition not so good as compared to the new building. So that's why money spent on the maintenance or improvement on the structure itself actually are quite high. So that's why all these will affect the property value because if the condition is very poor, you need to spend money to actually repair. If the structure not stable, okay, then you even need more money to make the structure stable back. Okay, so that will add up the cost and affect the value. Then the next one is the layout. Long and thin is unlikely to be an efficient use of space. Square or rectangles represent the most economic floor plate. So the layout, which means the size of the property. If the property is very long, very thin like this, it's actually quite difficult to do the room arrangement. So the best shape is a square. Okay, because this is the most efficient efficient layout for any type of the building. So the best is open space. Don't need to have too many corner. If the building have too many corner, that will actually affect the value, because when you have too many corners, it's very difficult to place your furniture. So that's why you can see most of the layout, they are square, because too many corners definitely will affect the design itself. So that's why layout will affect the property value. Next, the next factor is about the tenant selection. So first is the tenant nature and mix. Fashion clothes retailer will not want to be next door to fish and chips shop for the reason of smell and litter. So which means that for one shop, if their neighbor is sell fish or sell pork or sell chicken, then that will affect the property value the next shop. Because let's say someone selling perfume, it's very difficult for them, the neighbor is selling the fish and chip. So that's why the tenant side by side, the neighbor will also affect the choice and the value of the property. And this one I think I mentioned before, if the shopping mall consists of a lot of anchor tenants, so a well-known retailer has committed to space, will encourage other smaller traders to take space. So that's why when the mall has more anchor tenants, it will actually increase the value of the property itself. Because normally anchor tenant, as I say, they are the giant tenant. So for these all giant tenants, they will attract the smaller tenant to join into the shopping mall. Okay. All right. So as a conclusion, so say for example, you have a few shopping mall like Pavilion, Sungai Wang, Star Hill, Lot 10, and Sunway Pyramid. So and the price per meter square is all this. Okay, so different shopping mall, they will have different transaction price and the yield also will be different. Okay, but then you know that among all these shopping mall, they are different. They are different in terms of size. They are different in terms of year. Sungai Wang actually exit quite some time ago already. So that's why when you do all these comparison, the best way is you need to make some adjustment. Okay, so the adjustment can be due to location, can be due to time, can be due to accessibility and the size. So from that, you can see that this is the original value. After you make the adjustment plus or minus on the rental, this will be your, I cannot see, I don't know what happened to my screen, final adjusted value. So remember, very common for comparison method, you need to make some adjustment to reflect the differences. So the differences can be in terms of size, accessibility, visibility, okay, and the time location. Okay, so that is a comparison method. The next one I'm going to talk about is the cost method. So cost method, sometimes we call it as the method of last resort, which means that none of the other approach can be utilized. So which means that cannot use profit method, cannot use residue method, cannot use comparison method. Last, the only thing you can use is cost method. So that is what we say, the method of last resort. None of the others method can be utilized to value it. So normally in what situation we need to use cost method is to value very specialized property which are not ordinarily traded in the market. Hence, there are no comparable, which means that for this type of property, they are not doing business, they are not renting out, there are no rental, no income, no doing any business. That's why you cannot do comparison. Okay, there is no rental income which can be used to purchase a capital value. So which means that the nature of the property, you cannot rent it out. They are not doing business. So for example, hospital, school, church, police station, library, all these property, they are not rent out, just like the residential or commercial property. So that's why they are not doing any business, no rental, no capital value. That's why you cannot use comparison method. So the value is based around cost of construction of the building on the site plus the land value, making allowances for obsolescence and disability, which means that cost method is you divide the property into two parts. First part, you calculate the land value. Second part, you calculate the building value. Okay, so that is what we meant by value is based on the cost of the building and the land value, making allowances for obsolescence and disability, which means that among these two building, you need to minus depreciation. Land no need because only building will depreciate. Building value will depreciate, but your land value will not depreciate. So that's why when you divide the calculation into land value, building value, the building value should minus depreciation. Land value, no need. Okay? So the calculation, I think simple, just this one. You can just remember this one. Okay? So straight away go to the example 2. Hospital with an estimated life of 90 years. So which means that this hospital actually estimated can last 90 years with 16 years remaining, which means that the current age is 74 years old. Because we estimate the life of the hospital is 90 years. However, currently the hospital still has 16 years to go. So which means the age right now is 74. So means quite some time already. The area 2,500 meters square is the building area. This one is the building area. This one site area. So it's the land area. The current value of this property need to be estimated for inclusion in the company account. Assuming land cost is 200,000 per hectare and the building cost is 300 per meter square. So simple, cost method divided A and B. First, you calculate the land value first. You use the area times the cost. So you get this value, 0.8 hectare times 200,000 per hectare. So that is your land value. Then the building value, you just use the area times the cost. Then you get 750,000. This is new building value. But just now we already mentioned that the building actually quite some time already. So you need to minus depreciation on the building itself. So how to minus? You use the current age, 74, the current age divided the estimated age, 74 divided by 90 years old. So it's approximate 82%, which means that this figure, you need to discount 82% because this 750,000 is the new building value. But then, as I mentioned in the question, the hospital already exit quite some time ago already. So this figure, you need to discount 82%. Okay, so you just use this figure times 82%. Then you should be able to get this figure. Okay, so which means that from the original new building value, you need to minus the depreciation factor, depreciation value. So end up the building value as for today value is only 13500. Okay, then after that sum up A, sum up B. A plus B, then you should be able to get the value of this hospital as for current day. Okay, so for cost method, remember is for those building that they are not doing any business, they don't have the rental value, they don't have the capital value. So under this, you should actually can divide it into land value plus the building value. Remember for building value, you need to minus the depreciation. Okay? All right. Okay, and some theory. Why we need to minus depreciation to the building? This is due to age itself, obsolescence, and depreciation. The first reason is because of physical deteriorations, the age itself. This is due to the wearing out of the fabric of the building due to age condition, which means that physical tear. The building already exist quite some time already, so the condition might not so good. So that's why you need money to repair. You need money to do maintenance. And maybe the building consists of the plumbing and the services, the system are quite outdated already. That's why you need to do repair and replacement. So that's why it increases the cost of maintenance. That's why the building you need to minus depreciation. That is the first reason because of the age. Second reason, functional obsolescence, which means that inadequacy of the design in terms of the current usage. This is what we call design or aesthetic obsolescence. Example, unnecessary high ceiling, unsatisfactory layout, which means that the building itself, the layout, the design are outdated, unable to satisfy the current need, not aligned to the current market pace. So if you recall, I do not know, my grandmother house is a very old house. So the layout actually not so nice, and the bathroom only have one bathroom only. But as you can see nowadays, the house minimum 2 bathroom, isn't it? So 1 bathroom where got enough. So that is the meaning of functional obsolescence, unable to satisfy owner need. For the old house, they still function, just that the design no longer satisfies the owner need, not aligned to the current market pace already. That's why it affects the property value because of maybe the arrangement not nice, the room size not nice, the toilet, as I mentioned, only 1 toilet, very got enough. Okay, so that is under functional obsolescence, or sometimes we also call it design or aesthetic obsolescence, means outdated already, the design. The next is about the technical obsolescence. Technical obsolescence, which means that they are forced to retire. Forced to retire because the industry of the function for which the building was originally designed has evolved further to leave the building behind. Just that if you got money right now, you want to buy iPhone 13 or you want to buy iPhone 7. Although iPhone 7, iPhone 8 can be used. But then if you got money, of course, you want to buy the latest iPhone, isn't it? Why you want to buy the latest iPhone? Because latest iPhone look nicer, better feature, more function, correct or not? So that's why although older iPhone version can be used, but then why people prefer new generation is because of the feature itself. So that is what we say forced to retire. They still can use, just that people will prefer to have a latest version because of the new feature, new function. And the second reason why people like to have a new version is for old version, sometimes if you want to find replacement part, it could be quite difficult to find. So that's why old house, okay, old property versus new property. Why people don't like to buy old property is because you need to have a big sum of the money to do refurbishment. Because some part of the building services, the piping you need to find replacement part. But sometimes because the building quite some time ago already, it's quite difficult to find the part. End up you need to do hacking, hack out the whole thing and do a new one again. Okay, so that is what we say technical obsolescence. They are forced to retire, no longer needed or wanted. because there are a better version available in the market. Okay. Last, market obsolescence, which means that the original requirement for the particular use in the particular location no longer exist. The development of the potential of the site appreciate due to the changes, blah, blah, blah. Okay, for this one, right? This one relate to Negeri Sembilan. Previously, ECRL passed by Negeri Sembilan. Property price increased because of the infrastructure improvement. However, government change, policy change, then ECRL also reroute back to the original. No more pass by Negeri Sembilan. That is under market obsolescence. The original requirement for that particular use no longer exist anymore. Okay, so that is one of the example, cancellation of the mega infrastructure. Okay, so that is under market obsolescence. Okay. All right, so okay, just in time, we will break for 10 minutes. Then we come back at see you all at 9:05. Okay, so remember to scan your attendance. Okay, so I will continue to lecture later. Okay, see you all later. All right, welcome back. Okay, next one, I'm going to talk about profit methods. So as I mentioned at the beginning, this profit method is not the profit method that you learn at prepare the feasibility study and also your appraisal. So under this chapter, the profit method, sometimes we also call it account or income method. So in what situation we need to use profit method is to value a property based on profit generating potential of a business, which means that any property that they are doing business, we can use profit method to evaluate, whereby the uniqueness of the property make it difficult to identify direct comparison which are regularly traded in the market. So for property that can use profit method, they need to fulfill this word called uniqueness. So uniqueness can be come across because only one such property in a particular location, only have one property only in that particular location, or the property holds something of a monopoly because the grant of a license to operate. This one you can refer to Genting Casino. They dominate the market. They monopoly the market. You hardly find another casino in Malaysia, isn't it? Because it's only one such property in that particular location, and that property holds something very special. That is a license, that is a limited license granted for them to do the business. So sometimes we call it monopoly form of the business. Okay, so it fulfill the profit method. Or the design of the building is only applicable to a specific use. This one, you can think of petrol station. Can you say that, hey, I want to, when you take over the petrol station, you want to convert it to cafe? How likely, isn't it? So the design of the petrol station only suitable to use it for petrol station only, cannot convert to other use. So what are the property can be used for profit method? Hotel, casino, golf course, park, and nightclub, because all these they are doing business. Okay, and they hold certain very limited license granted for them to do the business. So as I say just now, monopoly form of the business. So for profit method calculation, forget about all these long sentence. You just remember profit method equals to receive minus purchase, which means that here is the sales or revenue of the business. So whatever income that you have for a business minus the cost of operating. So this one actually the formula is similar to the profit method that you have learned at development appraisal. Income minus expenses. So for this one, similarly, sales and revenue that you obtain from a business minus all the cost of operating the business. So this is profit method. So say for example, okay, hotel. A 50-bed hotel in Georgetown has an average annual occupancy of 50%. So which means that not every day full house, isn't it? It depends on the season. So that's why for this one, we assume throughout the year only have 50%. Half occupied, half not occupied throughout the year. And the price of the hotel average 60 ringgit per room per night. So for profit method, in order for you to calculate the profit method, you need to extract the account of the business, which means that you need to request the account from the business that you want to take over, so that you will know their source of revenue and the cost of operating. So say for example, this is the account. So divided into two, this is the income that you have. First, accommodation. Okay, then bar of course, hotel, sometimes they got bar, they got restaurant, so people come and eat and spend, then they got revenue lor. Okay, then for stock, okay, you must remember stock also classified as their income because stock later on can be sold, then can convert into money. Just like property, they can sell, later on become the money. Okay, here value on 1st January is 105,000. Value on 31st December become 95,000, which means that the stock will depreciate. Okay, say for example, you buy the canned food. Let's say the restaurant, they buy the canned food at the early of the year. But then if didn't use it, let's say you last until end of the year, they will expire. So that's why we need to allocate depreciation for the stock. So that's why you can see early of the year, the stock is 105,000. End of the year, it become 95,000. So the balance is actually 10,000 is actually goes to the depreciation. So this is the value of the stock. Then the third one is the value of the fixture, fitting, furniture, and equipment. So all these actually classified as asset. So asset actually is a money. So assuming is 250,000. So here is the income that the business have. Then here is the expenditure, the cost of operating the hotel. Say for example, purchase lah, buy pay salary lah, utility, laundry, and so on. Okay, so as I say, for you to do the profit method, you need to extract the account from the business to check the income and also the expenditure. Okay, so first part, first calculate the income. So as I mentioned just now, the income come from 3 parts. Accommodation, so 70 ringgit per night, let's say times per year, 50 room, assuming 50% occupancy rate, because it's not always full house ma, so assuming 50%. So this is the income that come from accommodation, plus the bar business, restaurant business, sum up everything, this is the revenue. Then the next part is minus the cost. So in the account, purchase of stock. This one is actually in the account. I think it's this one. Okay, so minus 45,000. So this is what I mentioned just now, adjustment for depreciation in the value of the stock. Beginning of the year, end of the year. So depreciate 10%, 10,000. So that's why the 45, add up this one together, become 55,000. So use your revenue minus this one. Then for this, you bring forward to the next slide. So bring forward to the next slide already, you minus all the expenses that available in the account, which means that here, everything here, you put it here, minus log. So you minus all the cost of operating the business. This is the balance, 404,000. So you bring forward to the next slide. Then I think this one is also available in the slide, 50,000. Less estimate of operator remuneration. So you pay the operator salary. So you minus 50,000. Okay, for this part, right? For this part, less interest on operator capital. Under here, you have 3: furniture, stock average, cash. So say for example, as I say, for a business, the furniture and the equipment can be the asset. Stock also can be the asset. Cash can be the asset also. So say for example, in this business, they have all these assets. Okay, but this asset, we need to allocate depreciation, assuming depreciation 10%. Because all these things, when the new owner take over, they will depreciate. So for this part, say for example, we assume 10% depreciation. So from this value, A value, you depreciate 10%. So this is a value depreciation. So you minus minus 37,100. So for this one, the balance, you bring forward to the next slide. So when you bring forward to the next slide, this is a balance, the profit that you are going to get. So since this is a business, assuming if the new owner take over, the new owner, we are going to enjoy this income forever, this profit forever. That's why YP in perpetuity assuming 10%. So 100 divided by 10. So end up is 10. No? So this part is assuming the balance income profit here. When the new owner take over the hotel business, he or she will going to enjoy forever. Just like when you value the commercial property, the rental income that you receive per year, assuming you are going to enjoy it forever. Similarly, in this case, under the profit method, because you are doing business so assuming when the new owner take over the whole business, they can enjoy this income forever. So that's why YP in perpetuity, 100 divided by 10. Okay, so when you divide it already, times already, this will be the property value. Bear in mind that here, if the business is to be sold as a going on concern, the trade inventory is usually included, so the following item might be added when valuing the business. When you take over the whole business, do you think that the old owner will say, hey, you want to take over my hotel? Okay, I will move away all the furniture. I will move away all the chair lah, all the table lah, all the bed lah, and the mattress lah. No such thing, isn't it? When we take over the business, more likely you are going to take over the whole thing, the whole package. You are going to buy over the whole entity, not vacant unit. So that's why the furniture, the old owner will leave it to the new owner. The stock balance, the old owner also will leave it to the new owner. Assuming the cash in the hotel, they also leave it to the new owner. So assuming that you are buying a whole package, whole thing from A until Z. So you can see that all these things become your asset. You add it back. Assuming that you take over everything, the furniture, the stock, the cash, you add it. So add up here, the value of the business will be 3 million. So which means that you are going to enjoy the income approximate 3.5 million. So remember, for profit method, assuming when you take over the whole thing, you are going to buy over the whole entity, not vacant unit. So that's why the furniture, the stock, the cash, assuming that you are going to take it over as well from the old owner. Okay, so that will be your value of this business when you take over. All right. There are some limitation when you use profit method, especially when you want to take over this hotel. Say for example, this hotel, when you want to take over, there are some limitation when you do valuation like this. First one, assess the profitability arising from the potential occupation of that particular property, which should be at least indirectly reflect the market supply and demand, which means that it depends on timing. If you take over, say for example, COVID right now, COVID-19 pandemic right now, when you take over the hotel right now, the value should be lower because the supply and demand is very low for hotel business, isn't it? But if you say few years ago, 2019 or 2018, before COVID-19 pandemic, the hotel business should be very good. Supply and demand is very good. So when you take over the hotel during that period, you should be the value you get should be very high as compared to today. When you take back the whole hotel for the business, the the value should be not so good because the demand and supply at different timing is different. So that's why how you want to evaluate profitability, sometimes it depends on market, depends on supply and demand. So this one will affect the value when you calculate, depends on the market itself. So that is the first limitation. The second limitation, the profit that you calculated actually depends on the skill and business acumen of the tenant or proprietor rather than the characteristic of the property. Okay, this one, how you want to make profit, sometimes it depends on the individual. Maybe the business not so good, but because of the owner are very smart. They know how to do business. They got management skill. So that's why they can actually bring up the business. So although you calculate this value is your property value, but let's say Jasper take over. Jasper don't have experience, does not have experience in doing any business. So when Jasper take over, maybe he cannot survive because he got no experience to manage hotel business before. So that's why the profit generated actually very depends on the skill of the owner itself. Maybe the business is very attractive, but then because the owner no skill, that's why it will actually reduce the business volume. So that's why when you use profit method to evaluate this kind of business, sometimes it's actually quite subjective lah. Okay, so that are the two limitations that I want to highlight to you. Okay, moving forward is last one is the investment method. Investment method we learned before is actually regarding the yield. Okay, how you want to get the yield is you use the annual rental divided by capital value. So investment method basically is to calculate the yield, calculate the annual rental and also the capital value. Okay, say for example, value the freehold interest. Okay, freehold interest means capital value. Okay, value the freehold interest in a shop that was recently let at a rental. So this is a rental per annum. Analyze the recent transaction, which means that asks you to calculate the capital value when the yield is 8%. So very simple. You just use the formula yield equals to annual income divided by capital value. Yield 8%, annual income 100,000. So your capital value. Okay, so capital value equivalent to this one divided by 0.08. So you should be able to get this value. Okay, so investment method is to calculate the yield, the market rental, and also the capital value. So this example 4 is the simple calculation by using the investment method. But let's say example 5. Okay, a factory is currently let at 250,000 per annum. Okay, on a lease with 4 years unexpired. The market rent is 300,000 per annum and the yield is 9%. So which means that currently the factory is under leasing. Still has 4 years to go. So when you see this table, the factory is under the term lease. Still have 4 years to go. So the lease will end here. Okay, so under the lease, current CR is current rental. Current rental. MR is market rental. Okay, under the term lease, the owner say you just pay 250,000. But actually in the market rent is 3,000 K. But then because we are under the contract already, under the lease, so the owner cannot simply increase to 300,000. The owner need to follow the rental stick in the lease contract. So that's why although the market rental is 300,000, but because still under the lease contract, that's why they had to pay 250,000 instead of 300,000. And the yield here is 9%. So for this part, because it's still under the leasing, when you value the property, you have to divide into two parts. First is the term rent. Second is the reversion to the market rent. Okay, I talk about the first one first. Term rent means that from here to here, term lease. So from 0 until 4, the owner are collecting 250,000. So for 4 years. I repeat again. For the first part, we are doing here. So here, the owner is collecting 250,000 for 4 years. After 4 years, the owner is going to increase the rental to 300,000 after the lease end. But before, they cannot increase. They have to follow the terms and conditions in the contract. So between 0 and 4, the owner will charge 250,000 for 4 years. So in your mind, you will just think that, oh, 4 years, okay, just use 250,000 times 4, then I get 1 million. No? It's correct. But then you are not going to get 1 million today. This 1 million you are going to receive in the future. That's why you need to discount back to today's value. Okay, I repeat again. For this part, right, common sense, you will think that, oh, 250,000 times 4 years, then I got 1 million income in the future. Yes, correct. But we are value today. We want to know the value today. That's why you need to discount the 1 million, the future value, to today's value. So which means that you have to discount the 1 million to today's value to reflect the current situation. So in order to calculate this part, you have to use this formula. 1 minus 1 divided 1 plus R. R means, R actually is the I, is a percentage, 8%. Divided by the R, also sometimes we call it I, 8%. Okay, so I is 8%. N is the time. Is the time means in 4 years time, you are going to get this one. So to the power of 4. Okay, now question is, where do I get the 8%? In the question, right, you won't see any 8%, isn't it? You only see 9%. Then the question you will ask me is, why you want to use 8%? Why you not use 9%? Okay, the reason is why we use 8%. Actually, the logic is you should use the current yield minus 1%. Means 9% minus 1%. Why you want to do that is because normally under the contract is safer. The tenant will not run away. Correct or not? Because still under the lease, so definitely you will have income. The risk is lower. But after the lease end, your tenant has the choice, say bye-bye, don't want to rent already, I want to run away already. So that's why here you use 9% because more risky. Okay, I use this chart. Okay, here under the term lease is safer because under the contract you got income. So that's why the tenant won't run away. That's why the yield here should be lower. Normally is minus 1% from the market. So 9 minus 1, 8%. But after the lease end, the tenant has the choice, say goodbye, don't want to rent already, I want to run away to a better place, or because you increase the rental. So that's why normally here will be more risky. Risky in the sense that maybe nobody want to rent your property. That's why you use 9%. higher yield to reflect the higher risk, lower yield to reflect the lower risk. So that's why here we use 8%. The principal is minus the market by 1%. So that's why here you use 8%. Okay, so which means that this one, after you apply the factor, you won't get 1 million. 1 million is your future value. When you discount the 1 million to today value, so the today value actually is 8280.25. Why we want to discount to today value is we want to know the value today for better comparison. Because money worth more now rather than future. That's why we always compare now rather than future. So just now I already mentioned, don't use 1 million. We discount back to today value by using this formula. So that's why the value is actually 828025 for the first 4 years. Okay, then after 4 years, the lease will end. When the lease ends, the owner will going to charge market rental, MR. So MR, you have to use two calculation here. First, YP in perpetuity, which means that assuming we can receive this income forever. So you use 100 divided by the yield, 100 divided by 9 is approximate 11.1111. So that is the first part, perpetuity part, assuming that we can get this income forever. But then, second part is, in order to get this income forever, defer 4 years means delay 4 years. You need to wait 4 years, then only you can enjoy this income forever. That's why second part, you need to calculate defer 4 years by using this formula to actually indicate the deferment only available at 4 years onward. Okay, I repeat again. For second part, right, for B part is you are going to increase the rental to the market rental. So it's 300,000, no? Assuming you can enjoy this income forever. First part, you use YP in perpetuity, 100 divided by 9%. Okay, that is the first part. But bear in mind that we are comparing today value. This value is you are going to enjoy after 4 years. So that's why deferment 4 years. You need to delay 4 years, then only you can enjoy this income forever. That's why the second part, we calculate the deferment only available at 4 years onward. So you times another factor. Okay, so this one, how you get this one is you use the 30,000 times this one, times this one. Then you get this one. Last but not least, X plus Y. X plus Y. Then you get this value. So remember that for this question, quite tricky is because it involves the future value. So it's very important that you have to bring it back to today value by calculating like this. Okay, so that is a investment method. Okay. All right, so this simple chart again, I show you. Let's say 250,000 that you are going to collect next year. But when you calculate back to today value, PV means present value. When you calculate back to today present value, it actually lower a bit. So similarly, the longer the year, the value become even smaller. So when you do valuation, we always compare today value, present value, rather than future value. Why? Future, many uncertainty. That's why we always compare today rather than the future. So in doing the valuation calculation, it's very important that we must compare the present rather than the future. Okay? All right, last part, discounted cash flow. You want to have a break or you want to continue? Class, this is the last part already. Quite long, I think half an hour. You want to continue or you want to have a short break before I continue the last part? Can anyone respond? Break, okay. Too many calculation, isn't it? Okay, break for a while lah. Okay, we break for 10 minutes, okay? Come back at 9:46. Okay, break for 10 minutes. Then we come back to talk about the last part. Okay, see you later. Okay, welcome back. Last part. Okay, last part of this valuation method is we are going to use how are we going to use the investment method in discounted cash flow approach DCF. So discounted cash flow is quite useful to determine, to calculate an investment whether worth or not worth. Especially if you want to take over a business, you want to determine whether this business will bring you sufficient profit eventually or not. So the calculation of worth of investment value to that particular investor can then more fully inform the decision whether to purchase or not. So which means that by using the discounted cash flow, we can calculate at the end of the day whether this investment can bring you sufficient profit or not. So that will actually serve as an information to the investor whether to buy or not to buy. Okay. So discounted cash flow is used to identify the net present value. So as the word says, discounted. At the beginning of the day, just now already mentioned that we are more concerned of today value. That's why DCF, discounted cash flow, is to calculate the value of today from the cash flow expected in the future. So from that, we convert the cash flow in the future to today value to see whether this investment can produce sufficient cash flow or not to determine the return. Okay. All right. This question a bit long. Okay, so all of you please wake up and listen carefully. Okay, first, your client is thinking to purchase the freehold interest, which means that your client want to buy over an office for refurbishment opportunity. Okay, so your client want to take over an old office, then he want to do refurbishment later. So when you want to take over the office, the owner say, you want to take over? Okay, okay. The asking price is 2.5 million. Okay, so and the property is ready for refurbish upon expiry of the current lease in 7 years time. Okay, go back here. Go back to this chart. Okay, asking price, which means that you want to buy over, can 2.5 million. Whole thing I give to you. So the owner actually want to know, this 2.5 million worth or not, Mr. QS. Okay, so from the timeline, he say that the office still under leasing, which means that still got tenant, and the lease will expire at 7. Lease expired year 7, which means that the owner will going to take at year 8. Okay, I repeat again. The lease will end at year 7, which means that the new owner, your client, will take over at year 8. That is the first sentence. Okay, the current net rent is 200,000 per annum, and the final rent review is in 2 years time. Okay, then go back to the chart. Okay, CR means current rental. Current rent 200,000. Rent review at year 2 onwards. As I mentioned just now, when under the lease, you cannot suka change the rental because it's under the contract. You fix the rental 200,000. But in the contract, you mentioned that you are going to carry out a rent review to increase the rental to the market rent. MR is market rent. Okay, so year 2, the owner will carry out a rent review. So which means that from 0 until 2, they are going to collect 200,000. But year 2 onward, the owner will start to conduct rent review to increase the rental to market rent 250,000. Okay. All right. So your client plans to hold the property until the lease expired, refurbish, and then sell. So your client is actually plans to take over the building first, wait until the lease expired, refurbish, then sell. This one very important. Remember, at the end, he want to sell. Okay? Assuming the following information. Just now, the owner say want to do, your client say want to do refurbishment. So you estimate, the refurbishment cost is approximate 2 million and will take 1 year. So I will put here, here, refurbishment cost 2 million, 2 million. Okay. The current market rent of the property is 250,000. Refurbished is 300,000. Okay, what does it mean? Market rent 250,000. RR means refurbished rent 300,000. Before you refurbish is 250,000. After you refurbish, your value increase. Still remember microeconomic or not? Refurbishment, maintain your building, will increase your building value. So that's why once you refurbish, make up your building already, your value become 300,000. Okay, so RR is refurbished rate. MR, market rent. Refurbished rent. Okay. Render goal of the existing building 5%, refurbish 6%. Okay, what does it mean? Grow 5% here. grow 6% here. Because this value is future, we estimate that perhaps we'll have inflation or fluctuation. So we allow 5% for this one, 6% for this one. Because future is always filled with uncertainty. You are estimate today, but you do not know what will happen in the future. So we tend to overestimate a bit rather than underestimate. So for this one, we mark up plus 5%. This one, we mark up plus 6%. Okay, so that is meant by growing rate. Okay. The yield after refurbishment is 7%. So yield is 7% after refurbishment. Client target 15%. Building cost inflate at 9% per annum. So here, yield 7% after refurbish. Target, your client target want to achieve 50%. Just now, refurbishment, we estimate 2 million. How sure are you? In the future, really 2 million? So that's why you add 9%. No? Okay, so next is what? The client asks you, Mr. QS, Miss QS, is this a good investment opportunity at the asking price? Which means that your client want to know, this one worth or not? Overpriced or underpriced? So your client actually want to know whether this investment opportunity good or not, worth or not. Okay, so now, wait, I want to shift the slide first. Okay, so in order to calculate this method is you have to produce a table form. So produce a table from year 0 until year 8 to see what happened at each year. What are the costs? What are the revenue that you are going to get from each year? Okay, so description is you are either spend or you are either receive the income. So cash flow is today value. This is a today value, and not today value, your estimated value. Okay, then PV is a present value, which means that you have to discount this value to this value. Okay, I repeat again. You have to discount A value to B value by using this formula. Okay, so now I talk about A first. Okay, you forget about this one first. Don't confuse yourself. Talk about A first. Year 0 purchase price, which means that if your client decided to buy over the whole office, your client need to pay. That's why negative 2.5 million. Can you see this one? When the client decided to buy away, take over the whole office for refurbishment opportunity, the first thing your client need to spend 2,500, 2.5 million. Okay, so that is a A 0. Then year 1 until year 2, 1, 2, go back to the timeline. Here, you are going to collect 200,000 current rental as your income. That's why, go back to the table, you will collect 200,000 as your income. Okay, then just now I mentioned, after year 2, they are going to start to conduct the rent review. Correct or not? Here, start to have rent review. You are going to collect 250,000 plus the 5%. So how to calculate is you use 250,000, okay, times 1 plus I is 5%, because here 5%. In how many years' time you are going to collect this market rent? In 2 years' time. That's why N is 2. Okay, I repeat again. For this one, you cannot just take 250,000. You need to include the growing rate. So you times 1 plus I, the I is 5%. N is in how many years' time you are going to enjoy this rental income? In 2 years' time. So you times everything already, you should be able to get 275,625. Okay, so it's from year 2 until year 7. Can you see? So year 3 onward, you start to collect until year 7. So this is a value. Okay, so this is a MR. MR plus percentage. This one CR. Okay, so this one no issue. Okay, after that, when the lease end, your client say want to do refurbishment. So next, you are going to calculate refurbishment cost. So refurbishment, 2 million times, similarly, 1 plus I, 9%. In how many years' time you are going to do the refurbishment? Year 8 onward. So that's why here 8. Okay, then here is approximate this value. So this money is you are going to spend. That's why go back to the table. You are going to minus here. Can you see? Spend minus. Okay. What does it mean by sales proceed is actually capital value? Remember just now, your client say at the end of the day, refurbish already, he want to sell. He does not want to retain. He does not want to get rental income anymore. So at the end of the day, he want to sell after refurbishment. So the next thing is you are going to calculate the capital value. So go back to the table. First, calculate for this part, right? First, calculate the refurbishment rental first. 300,000 times 6%. In how many years' time you are going to enjoy this rental? In 8 years' time. So after you at year 8 you refurbish, you start to enjoy. Okay, so after that it become 478,154. So this is a RR. But your client does not want to collect rental anymore. He want to sell. So use the formula yield equals to rental divided by CV, capital value. Yield given 7%. Rental here already calculated. So you bring here, then you get CV. The CV capital value should be this value. Okay? Alright, for this part, I explain again. At the end of the year 7, lease expired. Client take over at year 8. So he or she want to refurbish and sell. So first calculate the refurbishment rental first. 300,000 times 1 plus I to the power of n. So I is 6% in year X time. Then he want to do the refurbishment and enjoy the rental. Then after that, he say you want to sell. So you have to calculate the capital value by using the yield formula, the investment method formula. 7% here given in the question equals to the rental that you calculate divided by the CV. So from that, you can get the CV is this one. Okay, so A part done. B part is the PV, present value. This is the value that you are going to get in the future. That's why just now I mentioned the next step is you have to convert it to today value by using the PV formula. The PV formula is 1 here divided 1 plus I to the power of n. I percentage, right? You use the target 15%. You use the target set by the client. Okay, which one? This one. So you use the target set by the client 15%. N to the power of n, right, depends on which row. If n here means n equals to 0. If n here, n equals to 1. If n here, n equals to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the N is not fixed. It depends at which year. So if at year 2, then your N is equals to 2 lor. Okay, then the target you use 15%. The purpose to have this is we want to discount this value to today's value. Why the new rental income after 2 years we start? Because you start to we conduct the rent review in 2 years time. You start to enjoy at year 3. Okay, I repeat again. You start to rent review at year 2, but you collect at year 3. Okay, in 2 years time, you are going to review your rental. You start to enjoy at year 3. That's why you use 2. Okay, so PV is you use this factor to convert the A into B. So you can see that the value here always becomes smaller and smaller. Okay, so this is what we call discounted cash flow. Okay, so when you discounted already, this one times this one, you sum up everything, add up everything together, right? End up, you will find out the net present value is negative. Negative 545890. Okay, listen carefully. What does it mean by negative? Negative does not mean loss. Negative does not mean loss here in this case. Negative in this case, which means that this investment does not generate sufficient surplus at the end. Because this is cash flow. This is not appraisal. This is cash flow. So plus minus every year, end up at the end of the day, this project, this investment does not generate sufficient surplus to the client, which means that deficit end up negative deficit. So negative here, not loss. Negative here means deficit, which means that at the end of the day, this cash flow does not bring sufficient surplus to the client. So actually not good for this investment because no surplus. So your client next question, since I cannot get positive value, I cannot get the positive surplus, I cannot achieve my target. So the client next question is to ask you, then 15% tak boleh because 15% too high already, does not have sufficient surplus. The client next question is to ask you, then what is the rate of return for this project? If 50% is not the case, then what is the percentage left? Okay, so for this one, you produce the similar table again, same table again. This one, same. Only different is this one. You don't use, originally you use 15%, you get deficit, correct or not? So second chance, you can try any figure. I say any figure, as long as less than 15%. You can use 10%, you can use 5%, you can use 7%, 8%, as long as at the end you get surplus. Okay, I repeat again. For this part, right, second part is you can use any percentage as long as lower than 15%, as long as you can get positive at the end. So I don't really advise you to use 14 or 13, best 10% or 5%. Because if you use 14%, 13%, I worry later on here still deficit. So that's why you can use any percentage, try and error, as long as at the end you get positive. Okay, so in this case, I use 5%. Okay, so here change 5% already, your DCF definitely will change. So when I use 5%, I got surplus at the end, 880381. Okay, so the next task is you have to produce this chart. Okay, you draw horizontally first. At 15%, you have deficit ma, correct or not? Just now, originally you use 15%, you have deficit 545,980. So at the bottom, here 0, here positive, here negative. So at 15%, you have deficit. Just now I used 5%, I got surplus 880,380. If you use 10%, here you put 10%, no? Then here you put your figure, lo. If you use 7%, then you put 7% here. Here you use another figure, lo. It does not matter because we are not finding this one. We are finding this one. At what figure start to break even? Can you see here negative? After this point become positive. So your client want to ask you, hey, this point is what point? What is the figure? Because this is the crucial point from negative to positive, from deficit to surplus. So it does not matter this one you use what percentage lah, okay? After you draw this figure, okay, first horizontally versus vertical. Horizon means this one, assuming distance here to here is x. So short one, x, versus long one, 15 minus 5. Okay, I repeat again. First, look at the horizontal line. Shortest versus longest. Shortest is from here to here, x, assuming x. Longest from here to here, 15 minus 5. Mine is 5 lah. If you want to try 7, then you put 7, no? Okay. Vertically, shortest versus longest. Shortest is this one. Here is 0. So here, 880,381. Then longest is this one plus this one. So 880,381 plus 545,980. Forget about the negative. Negative here just indicate the location at the bottom. So here you don't put negative. Negative just indicate the location, whether they are surplus or they are the deficit. So here you don't put negative. Negative just indicate the location. It's not the figure. Okay, so this one only I teach, right? You can get the figure, right? By using this formula, the x that you are going to get is approximate 6.17%, which means that x equal 6.17%. So which means from 5 at 6.17%, this value is 11.17%. So what does it mean? Which means that for this investment, 15% cannot achieve lah, too high already, because 15% you have deficit. The best the client can get for this project, the return is approximate 11%. So it actually depends on the client whether he or she can accept this 11% or not, or the client has better option which can achieve 15%. Then the client might abandon this project and choose the option B. So this calculation actually give an indication to the client to choose which option is better. If the client can accept 11%, also not bad, then the client might proceed to purchase. But if the client think that 11 is too low, they still want to get it 15%, then they might abandon this project and choose the option number 2. So as a conclusion, this discounted cash flow is very useful when you want to take over one project in the future. So you can actually use the DCF factor, the PV factor, to convert the cash flow in the future into today's value for better comparison. Okay, so that's it for this chapter. Tutorial number 6, the last tutorial, I will set a few questions for you to try. So from that, I think you will get better understanding after you try the tutorial question, and we will discuss together. Okay, so that's it. Any questions so far? Okay, go after the class, digest a bit, then try the tutorial question. After that, the tutorial number 6, we will discuss together lah, if you have any question later. Okay, so far? All right. While waiting, any question from you? Week 14, right? Okay, week 14, normally week 14, I will conduct a revision. I will give back your coursework mark, your midterm and assignment, and I will give my comment, why your midterm so bad, why your assignment so bad, why your assignment so good, or why your midterm so good. So generally, I will feedback on your midterm, assignment, revision, plus I will do a briefing for your FA, final assessment. But then week 14 Monday is FYP 1 presentation in the morning. So Monday morning I cannot conduct any classes because I need to attend the FYP presentation. I think most of you in my class, you are taking FYP 1. So I think Monday morning I will cancel the class and I will reschedule to another day. My idea is Monday afternoon, Monday 2 p.m., week 14. So I want to ask, anyone of you got class on Monday, week 14, 2 p.m.? Do you have class? Monday, week 14, 2 p.m. until, I think I need 3 hours. Got many things to talk. I do not know, anyone following got class. What class? I want to know. How about others got class or not? Which subject? Oh, okay. I think, okay lah. Then I think, if like that so difficult, I will arrange in Saturday lor. No choice I will arrange on Saturday. I'm still thinking which Saturday Let me think first So most likely I will arrange on Saturday to replace week 14. That class very, very, very important. So please do not skip. Yeah, I'm thinking week 13 Saturday. I'm thinking, but wait me mark finish first. I'm not so sure whether I can mark so fast or not. I'm planning week 13 Saturday or week 14 Saturday. Okay, let me think first. If I have a confirmation, I will post at Webeler or MS Team. Okay, so that day we will do a revision, a briefing, and I will feedback your assignment and midterm. It's very important. You don't want to screw your FA, you must attend. Okay, so that's it. Thank you, class, and I will see you again next week. Okay?